And in the realm of cyber, there's really a definitive way to know how much a person is important and how much a person contributes to the realm of cybersecurity, and that is by how little you can tell about what they've done. And the first person I want to welcome on stage is exactly that person. So please give a round of applause to the Director of Cyber Programs in the Israeli Aerospace Industries, Ms. Esti Peshin.
Okay, and now we'll have my presentation on, hopefully. Excellent. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to this wonderful conference. Thank you to the organizers, and thank you, Matan, for this wonderful presentation and for the introduction. I'm a bit more humble than that, but I would like to especially thank you for letting me speak first and not after the guy with the kilt. Yeah, so I'm sure you know that part of this panel is a presentation by Mr. Chris Roberts. He's an American hacker, and the number of times I started a presentation by saying, hey, a guy by the name of Chris Roberts gets on a plane, and, well, I think more than 100 times in the recent years or so. But this time, I will start by asking, the question is modern air traffic safe? Is it cyber safe? Well, just to give you a brief spoiler, I think all of us will agree that the answer is no. Okay, we are cyber professionals. We know that everything can be hacked, and everything that can be hacked will eventually be hacked. So industry must step up in order to prevent the potential damage. And usually at this point of time, I start with the threat landscape, and this is where the fear factor comes into play. So we show a few examples of airports that were hacked, planes that were hacked. In this case, I took off the Chris Roberts examples. They're usually here, just FYI. But we do know that there were hacks. Airports were hacked. This caused significant damage, even financial damage. We know that airplanes can be hacked. We know that the GAO, the Government Accountability Office in the US, claimed that FAA needs to bring to the table a more comprehensive approach to cybersecurity. They actually warned about several elements that exist on a plane and, in their opinion, are not sufficiently secure. So let's agree, for the sake of this presentation, that civil aviation needs to step up its game, needs to be more cyber secure, and that industry has a very important role in this context. Now, looking at the threat landscape, you can see here a few blue squares. These squares pertain to physical threats, physical threats to civil aviation. You can see here threats like hijacking, like onboard tampering or sabotage, like disgruntled or disruptive passengers. We have seen quite a few of these examples in the past years. But you can see also the red rectangles, and these pertain to cyber threats. These threats range from hacking of ground systems to hacking of supportive systems like air traffic management, and finally to hacking the communication or the airplane itself. Some of these elements have been proven. A very interesting example is this presentation. You can see the name of the presentation in the top of the slide, Ghost in the Air Traffic. It was a presentation given in 2012 by a very important researcher by the name of Andrei Kostin. He basically showed that the modern air traffic management system, the next gen, which is IP-based, is hackable. it can be hacked actually in very primitive manners. To date improved a little bit, so it's not as vulnerable as it used to be, but it actually showed that you can perform a very effective DDoS attack. You can spoof messages, you can claim to be a plane that you are not, etc. Now air traffic control, it governs our flights. We need air traffic management to be secure. When we are looking at the operational challenge, the fact of the matter is that when we're looking at the industry, we're seeing a huge number of cyber environments that are affecting how we reach our destination, how we get from one place to another. Starting from systems like the onboard systems, which today are becoming more and more interconnected. Some of them are IP-based. And some of the systems are systems that govern the way through which we reach the flight, the check-in system, passenger listing, baggage control, systems that control the plane. I mentioned already air traffic management, automatic landing system, and so on and so forth. These systems are interconnected. Some of these systems are connected to other external systems, and most of these systems have computer elements. And here I go back to a statement, a very correct statement that Matan made during his introduction. Everything that is software-based has flaws and eventually can be hacked. What can we do about it? Well, first, I think you would agree with me that IT security is not enough. Yes, you need to harden the systems to the best extent possible, and this actually means constantly continuing to upgrade them. Now, we have a wonderful cyber industry here in Israel. We have emerging technologies. Every day, new technologies pop up and are making cyberspace more and more secure. But we need to constantly upgrade the security of our systems because the hackers, the bad guys, are constantly improving their capabilities as well. So we need to run forward in order to stay ahead of the game. But this is not enough. We need to monitor every possible system and try to detect potential anomalies, because we won't necessarily know that an attack is taking place unless we are able to detect what I would refer to as indicative signals. We need intelligence. Intelligence is key. We may not know that we have been attacked, but we may be able to know that there is an intention to attack us, and we can step up our defenses. We can improve our defenses. We can close in our ranks and make sure that we are not attacked. And finally, and I think this is a key point, we need to collaborate. We need to collaborate. Everyone needs to collaborate with everyone. Academia with the industry amongst itself, industry with the public sector, governments and governments, various regulators, and in the civil aviation industry, the manufacturers, the various vendors, the integrators, the airports, the airport authorities, the airlines. Everyone needs to come together and collaborate in order to create safer air travel. IAI is actually a very strong believer in collaboration, and this is the reason why we established last year, at the beginning of this year, ICRC, the Israeli Cyber Companies Consortium. This consortium comprises of 7 companies. It was endorsed by the Ministry of Economy, and we are basically marketing end-to-end solutions together. Not always, we are loosely coupled, but this provides us strengths. This provides us the ability to provide an end-to-end solution, not just a singular solution. So I urge everyone in this room and everyone outside this room to collaborate. Collaboration is the key to a safer cyberspace. Just to give you a few examples of potential solutions. So when we are looking at airports, today we are looking more at situational awareness, trying to look at an airport from the cyber factor, understanding whether or not it is currently under attack, whether or not it has been under attack. And by doing that, we are looking at various systems in the airport, systems that are IT systems. This has been done, this is being done, but also operational and dedicated systems within the airport. Cyber intelligence can also be harnessed in the interest of airport security. Many of us are going through airports on a daily basis, right, Chris? Yeah, and many of us are getting on planes. Now, using cyber intelligence, we can look at all these passengers and try to see if we can identify passengers in advance that we shouldn't let them board planes. So this is how cyber can be used also in the other direction, not only protecting against cyber attacks, but protecting against potential physical attacks. Finding the bad guys by looking, for example, at their social or a cyber profile. I would also like to briefly speak about the cyber air bill that was introduced in April 2016 in the US. This is actually a landmark bill. The essence of the bill, it's well worth reading. I urge you all of those who are interested in the cybersecurity for civil aviation, I urge you all to read it. But the essence of the bill is, first and foremost, disclosure of information. Airlines, manufacturers, airports are urged to report on any incident or any attempted incident and successful incident against systems on board aircraft and against supporting systems, for example, ground support systems or maintenance systems. This will first and foremost provide a picture of what is happening. Okay, some of us are shouting from podiums all around the world saying, hey, civil aviation is insecure. But when you look at the number of reported incidents, well, not so many of those in the media. So first and foremost, we need a picture. The FAA is allowed to share this information as required. Then we have a security requirement, cybersecurity requirements as part of this certification process. And finally, there is some emphasis on the management of cybersecurity risks for consumer devices. You know, all of us board airplanes with our mobile devices. Wi-Fi is widely used in airports, etc. Is this enough? Well, the answer is no. First, it will plug some holes. It's good. It's a very important first step. But looking at the entire industry, the civil aviation industry, needs a holistic approach for securing air traffic. It needs to incorporate airlines, it needs to incorporate airports, it needs to incorporate manufacturers and all the players that are involved. Eventually, there will be comprehensive cyber legislation related to the civil aviation industry. Meanwhile, industries like IAI need to step up and come up with the potential solutions. This is a lot of what we are doing today. We're putting a lot of focus on this together with our partners, and I invite all of you to come to our booth. It's just outside the plenary here, and hear more about our solutions. Thank you very much. I was asked to stay here and wait for a question, so now Matan is going to try and...
Yeah, I can see. No one can hear me. Can you hear me in the back? Oh, okay, now you can hear me. So first of all, thank you for the presentation. It was just as good as you promised.
I never promised it will be good.
That's what I said. It was just as good as you said.
This is why I asked you to be before the guy with the kilt.
I wanted to ask you a question. The question I want to ask is, we are here at the Cyber Conference, and Professor Ben Israel spoke this morning, and I heard on more than one occasion talk about the importance of government incentives. And I think I've heard him more than once give the example of the aerospace industry in Israel, and I think IAI is the quintessential embodiment of that. And giving as a contrast the transportation or the automotive, or lack thereof, an automotive industry in Israel, and he ties that, if I'm correct, to the focus given by the government. Now my question to you is, do you think that there's an opportunity now for Israel to build an automotive industry, and do you think that the government funding could play a major role in that?
So I think that when we look at the Israeli industry, then we see four factors that drive our innovation. And everything here starts with innovation, okay? Because this is our strongest point. So number one, where there's a need, there are entrepreneurs willing to fill the need. So the first question is there a need for cybersecurity solutions for the transportation industry? And I think that the answer is glowing yes. I think you've proven this in your presentation, and I think we'll hear more about it. And this is definitely true for the civil aviation industry, but I think that for the ground transportation industry and for the automotive industry as well. So this is number one. Number two, Israel is considered a very high quality hub of excellence in terms of innovation. But the technologies need to be brought to the table in order to maintain this reputation also for the automotive industry. For civil aviation industry, we are seeing some emerging technologies. We are working on some technologies. So once again, this is a process that needs to be funneled in a sense, and government incentives can bring more entrepreneurs to this area. Finally, there's a question of manpower. Okay, now, when we're looking, for example, the civil aviation industry, then you need two proficiencies, two simultaneous proficiencies. You need to understand civil aviation. It's a language. It's a profession. You need to understand what are avionics systems. These are not just regular operational networks. And you need to understand cyber. Now, there are a lot of people that understand cyber in Israel. There are not a lot of people in Israel that understand civil aviation. So if the government wants more and more entrepreneurs to follow this area of transportation, of civil aviation, of automotive industry, then they need to create a pool of experts in this area. And this is driven by two organizations. One of them is the military, and the other one is the academia. Today, if I'm counting correctly, we have 5 cyber faculties in Israel. Right. That's a lot. Each of them specializes in a specific area, and yes, I think government should try and push more and more of these young students towards this area. And finally, I think the most important concern is that, the most important element is that Israeli entrepreneurs tend to follow the money. If there is a lot of money in this industry, then the solutions will follow. Government incentives can create the initial incentive for these entrepreneurs, but eventually, the market will talk, and we'll see how the cyber solutions are adapted by the automotive industry, by the ground transportation industry, and by civil aviation industry.
I mean, I agree with everything you said. The only thing I would phrase differently is that there aren't 5 cyber research academias that have cyber. There's the ICRC at Tel Aviv University and 4 others.
Well, speaking here, that's what I
that's my
should have said.
personal. Thank you, Esti, so much for this.
Thank you very much, Matan.
Pleasure having you here.
Thank you.